already running. Okay, so hello. We are Marian Michal from Prague. What you see in the picture is Prague 13, the invisible diversity there. So we were thinking, how do we adapt the idea of ArrivalCity to the post-socialist context? And we came with this idea. Is it working? Okay,
yeah,
it's
working.
So this
long
is
20 seconds.
The name of our project was ArrivalCity Southwest City. This is the southwest city of Prague. It's an area composed of housing estates, and what you would call Plattenbausiedlungs in German, I guess. So it's the socialist, postmodernist housing estates, block of flats. And it turns out that this is actually the Prague ArrivalCity. We looked at the data and we found out that in some places up to 30% of inhabitants in these areas are of migrant origin, and it's mostly people coming from both Soviet countries, Russia, Belarus, Ukraine, Moldova. So Prague ArrivalCity is the post-socialist modernist city with migrants from Eastern Europe.
To me. So how do we approach the field work in there, because we are social anthropologists? We based our project on a participant observation, which took place from April to August of 2018, which means that we spent a lot of time in the public spaces, and we were observing the things and talking to people like who were in those shops, for example. And we also got in cooperation with our students from Faculty of Humanities at Charles University in Prague. And during that period, we also took some photos. We were, from time to time, we were as spies with our cameras, and we also recorded the noises and the voices of the people in there, which we wanted to use for a later exhibition. What to say about the people? Because mostly we were talking to the people. You see 3 of them in there. We were talking, for example, with the Ilya, which is the Belarusian immigrant, which came to Prague after they closed the EHU University in Minsk in 2005. This is Jana, who came from Izhevsk, from Udmurtia in Russia, and this is Abdul Sami, which came from Kyrgyzstan as a political refugee.
I have to stay close to you because of the mic.
Sorry.
So this is the area called Central Park. You see, it's as nice as the one in New York. So this is the main public space in the area that we researched. And then we were thinking, how do we take this and how do we present it to the people as an exhibition? So this is where the actual exhibition took place. It's called Kasárna Kalin. It's a former military barracks in the city center of Prague. It has been revitalized, reconstructed, and it's now used as a cultural space for really various groups of people. The important thing is it's actually in the city center. It's within walking distance from the main train station, so it's not located in the area where we did the research. There is a cafe, there is a cinema. This is mostly to show you that this is really kind of like cool hipster place where people go, and I would bet that most of these people actually never go to the actual estates. Maybe their parents live there, but they don't actually live there. And this is where the exhibition took place. This used to be a swimming pool for the soldiers, for the officers, and we kind of used it as a metaphor. You know, there is a lake in the middle of the Central Park, but we also used it as a metaphor for the underground station, as you can see. Yes, and this is how the exhibition started. So you went around. This is the German part of the exhibition, where what Petr was talking about, the original thesis, what is an ArrivalCity, were presented. So the visitor could walk through, read all the thesis, and then start with the Czech version. And here you can see more pictures. So this is the pool. We also used the windows. We put stickers on them, and they were representing the buildings with so many windows, because this is like, the view that we're all used to, that the housing estates have these big buildings with so many windows. So this is just how the place looked like.
Yeah, that's for me. And then the vernissage of the exhibition came in the September, and what we wanted to say about the housing estates was that during our research we somehow realized, when we were focusing on the public spaces and I would say community life in there, that what should best describe the housing estates in Czech Republic right now is this term invisible diversity, which is some sort of I would say mix of some phenomena that we were observing there. Mostly it was that we realized that the housing estate in Czech Republic, according to its changing structure ethnically, it's changing into some sort of multi-ethnic space that is based between its socialist heritage and its post-transformational and post-socialist processes that took place in there. So we were trying to show how this all happened in there. There were some texts, and as well there were some visualizations. For example, this table in there, which showed from which countries people to these housing estates were coming. And yeah, in the end, I would say in the exhibition attendance in the end was around 300 people or 500 people.
Yeah, of the opening. This is not the opening, this is part of the accompanying program that we also did as part of the exhibition. This is from a panel debate where we actually invited an expert from Germany, and we were trying to talk about what are the differences and maybe similarities between integration strategies of migrants in Czech Republic and in Germany. This is another event, the community cooking, where we actually invited the people that we worked with, whose stories we collected, and we invited them to cook some food that they know from their homeland, and then we all ate it together and we offered it for free to everyone who came, who were just a passerby. This is the end.
This is the end. So we basically wanted to say that the housing estates, Plattenbaus in Czech Republic, right now seems to be for everybody because of its, I would say, general shape in there and the social, cultural tendencies. Thank you.
Marie Heřmanová, Prague, ArrivalCity, jihozápadní město.
Michal Hečka, Prague, ArrivalCity, jihozápadní město. The time the Goethe Institute addressed us on behalf of making the exhibition in Prague, we started to think about what is the Czech version of, I would say, ArrivalCity. So we started to do some sort of research about numbers and statistics, and then we realized that there is something happening in the socialist modernist cities, in Prague mostly. In Germany you know it as a Plattenbausiedlungs. So we realized that there are some neighborhoods, that there are lots of people that are coming from post-Soviet countries, and so we decided to, because we are anthropologists, both of us with Maria, to do anthropological research based on participant observation in the area of housing estate of Hůrka and Lužiny. So yeah, and then we started to do a research in there and start to wonder about how to make the data that we created in here into the exhibition.
We were thinking in the beginning, is there even an ArrivalCity not only in Prague but in Czech Republic, because we're traditionally not an immigrant country. But then when we look at the numbers, we found out that yes, we do have our own version of ArrivalCity, but it's at the housing estates at the Plattenbausiedlungs. So it was, I think we didn't expect it, but the numbers were the first clue, and then when we really did the research, we realized that this is probably a really good example of an ArrivalCity.
I think the main term or the main characteristic of the ArrivalCity, Západní město, is that the city itself has in it something which could be described as an invisible diversity, which comes, by our opinion, is a sort of combination between the former and the original socialist setting, the collectivism, the socialist modernist ideas that are in a housing estate, that are combined in the end with the post-transformational changes in the city. So I think that's the most important way about this. So the city is really diverse, it's very multicultural, but at the same time you cannot see it when you're not focusing on that.
It basically started with a global encounter that we had here last year in Frankfurt, when we met all of these people from really diverse parts of the world. So it was the initial discussion about that, you know, Arrival City has so many different versions, and for us it was, for example, really interesting to talk with people from Venezuela who were basically talking mostly about departure city, which is also a really interesting concept. So on a global level, it was mostly like discussion, exchanges of ideas. On a local level, I think we managed to really work with the local actors. Like we did the research, so we collected stories of the migrants themselves. We worked with local NGOs. We also managed to work with the city hall. So yeah, I think that worked out really well in the end. I think it's probably too soon to tell, and to be honest, I'm not sure if we can talk about like did it change something. But then on the other hand, that wasn't maybe even the goal. We didn't think about really making a change. We mostly, because as Michal explained, the diversity in Prague is mostly invisible. So our goal was to show people that it's actually there. So I hope that the biggest impact was this, that we managed to show people that it's there and to start a discussion about, you know, how we might all enjoy it, perhaps.
Maybe I would add that from the global perspective, when I look at all of the others exhibitions, I think the main thing about the exhibition is that it shows that there is some sort of like continuous movement around the world, which reshapes the shape of the countries in there, the shape of the societies, and I think that is the main, like I would say, outcome of it, because we are showing the diversity around the globe, and at the same time we are showing, I think, the perspective on that, which are based on the local background.